All right, guys, welcome to the Team Victory All-Star Team Call. It is Sunday night, I always have to look, the January 18th. And before I get to our incredibly special guest, I'm really nervous. I haven't been nervous in a very long time, and I was just telling my husband, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I don't know why. This is like our Sunday night party, but I just am. It's a good feeling. I love being nervous. So bear with me. Okay, so I want to welcome everybody that's jumping on this call. The numbers keep going up, and I'm sure they will continue to since it is just 6:30 now. A couple things before we get started. Since I have so many of you in front of me, which doesn't happen often, I wanted to share a few things. If you have not signed up for the team newsletter that I posted in our team page, please do. Just look for the picture. I just went through and created the template based on all of your guys' feedback of what you really wanted to see. And I'm really excited to get that out to you. So you've got to be signed up so you can get them. Okay. I'm going to send that first newsletter out tomorrow. So make sure that you get signed up on the list. But again, it was based on your feedback. I appreciate you guys sharing what you want, because this newsletter is not my newsletter, it's your newsletter. And it would be pointless if it didn't have what you needed. So I'm really excited, and it's something that I've really wanted to do, but I just have never pushed that button and just done it. So I think it'll be helpful for those of you that don't get a chance to pop into the team page. And sometimes life gets in the way and you feel a little lost. So this is an opportunity for you to just kind of collect those emails if you are busy, and they will always be there for you. And I also, on the same note, because it is your newsletter and you requested, coach spotlights from our team, as well as top coaches and conversations with them, I created a document in the team page. You can add your suggestions on those forms. So take a look at that file. It's at the very top, so that we can hear from you. Again, it's not my newsletter, it's yours. So I want you guys to be submitting things so that everybody can celebrate your coaches and what's going on in your business. Okay, and there are some new changes to coach training, and that will be in the newsletter as well. The other thing I'm really excited about on these team calls, I have this new vision, and this actually goes along with the theme of tonight's call. Reinventing yourself. I've been a coach for over 5 years, and that's actually why I reached out to Doug, because there was a moment where I had to reinvent myself, and last year I don't think that I did, and here I am trying to reinvent myself, and he'll go into that as he does so well. But what I wanted to do this year for team calls, because last year was just so much fun doing these on Sunday nights, I've got a whole lineup of special guests scheduled to host our team calls. So that's something to really look forward to. My goal is to fill the year. And then Team Cup is coming up. I know I haven't mentioned it yet because it's just like, here it is. Team Cup is coming up, so keep that in mind. We're going to start talking about that more. And don't forget, at the very end, I really want to get a screenshot, our typical Sunday night party screenshot. And I've never done it with more than 25 people, so we'll see what happens, okay? So stick around for the end, and we'll get that screenshot. And that's it. I'm going to announce our special guest. Oh, I also wanted to announce that Doug here will be available for questions. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat box. And I will do my best to scroll through there and share some questions. I want to make sure that everybody's muted because we have so many people on this line that we don't get distracted. So I wanted to share a little bit about Doug and how I know Doug, and then I'm going to share with you how amazing he is and all his awesome accolades. For me, having him on this call is is like one of those things where you start off as a brand new coach and you follow the leaders, and you sign up and you do everything that they say to do because they just impact you so much. That is Doug to me. I was a brand new coach. We had no training, and I honestly don't even know how I stumbled upon him, but he provided so much to the coaching network that we didn't have, and I just gobbled it all up. And that is really how I worked through building my business. Was I mean, it was just so generous of him and to provide this information. It was just, I can't even tell you. It was just so generous. So that's how I know him. I showed up to every single event that he was at. And there are a lot of the coaches that are on my team, especially my local coaches, that came with me to the events and feel the exact same way about him and how special he is. And there's just some, that is why this call is so full, quite honestly, is because we know how special this is. And probably because I've talked about you forever. So for those of you who don't know Doug, he is a founding coach, and he's been with Beachbody since 2001. He was a 2007 $10,000 transformation winner. He is by far a product of the product. He's been featured on several Power 90 and P90X infomercials, along with live appearances with Tony on QVC, which I know for a fact I remember seeing those many times. He's a certified insanity instructor. He's a 9-star diamond coach, 2009 top coach, 2010 and 11 elite coach. He's been a Success Club member for several years, this is awesome, you guys. So he served 2 terms on the coach advisory board, which some of you don't know, and in fact, I want to go through that at some point and really explain what that is, but that to have, especially 2 terms being on that's representing us and really our livelihood in this business. Multi-million-dollar earner. In 2011, he was awarded the very first Team Beachbody CEO award, which is ridiculous. I mean, it's just, he's just amazing. He's been married for over 23 years to his wife, Tammy, and they have 2 kids, Dylan and Sydney, who I know because I remember you talking about them all the time, how special they are. So I am grateful to have you here. I am going to spotlight your video so that my little face is hiding, and I'm going to just let you speak. We've got coaches on this call that are old-time coaches like me who really need, to hear about how do we, keep going in this business and keep, keeping it fresh. And then we've also got, new coaches on this call that would love a special treat to hear from someone that's been so successful and has been around for so long. So I'm going to spotlight you, and I'm going to, you take it away.
Well, Anna, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you to share all that. And Anna, you're a great inspiration to me and an encouragement. Every time I see you at our events and at Leadership and at Summit, you are an incredible encouragement. And I know it's not just to me, it's to your team. You're a 5-star diamond coach, you're a star diamond coach, you're an elite coach. You have made an impact in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people's lives. And you got an incredible team here. And so it's an absolute honor to be here and to watch you grow and develop. And it's fun to work alongside you because in the end, we're all just people, right? Trying to make through this thing and trying to figure it all out and try to do the best we can to help love and serve people along the way. And so tonight, what I'd like to do is share with you a little bit about my journey and talk about what it means to reinvent yourself every single year. In other words, really looking and evaluating your life to make sure that what you're doing is in line with what you want to achieve in the future down the road. And, like Anna said, one of the things I want to go back to a little bit, you talked about my family. And I know your family is very important to you. And you've been married, I think, over 16, 17 years, 18 years, long time. With Jeremy and 2 daughters.
16 years, yes.
16 years. And there's anytime you're part of something for that long, whether it's a relationship, whether it's being part of, a company, doing something like working on your health and fitness, working with your finances, or being a Beachbody coach. If you're not really consistent about identifying the priorities that you want to achieve over a long period of time, things can happen that you don't intend to happen, but they do. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. I'll talk a little bit about my journey. And I want to talk about my year this year. Actually, this year was an interesting year because the last couple of years really stunk for me personally. And I had to work through a lot of things. This year was an uncomfortable year in really trying to identify let me just back up. This last couple of months has been an uncomfortable period of time for me as I've established my goals for this year. Usually establishing goals for me are easy. I know exactly what I want to achieve, but I was a little bit uncomfortable, and I'll get into that a little bit later on. Let me backtrack and tell you back when I started back in 2006, Carl Deichler, our CEO, had asked 41 of us to become founding coaches with the company and to kick this whole thing off. And back then, we literally, and some of you probably heard my story, but this is relevant to what I'm going to share in just a little bit. We had nothing. I mean, video conferencing like this 8 years ago wasn't even existent. It's crazy to see how fast technology changes. We had to create everything from scratch. And so me, and listen close to this, me being an A-type personality and an entrepreneur and wanting to achieve things in my life, I was in hog heaven. I mean, this was like the life I wanted to really grasp a hold of. And because I knew we could create something that was going to change people's lives in a totally different aspect that I never thought about before. And so we began this process, and we had to create everything, tools and resources and training and presentations. We didn't have a store to sell product in. Emailing people was just getting started, really. And we still had dial-up connections and all that kind of stuff. And it was just an interesting time to get started. And fast forward, as we were growing and developing, and the company started growing and started succeeding, things were going well. But then it was about 3 years ago when all of a sudden there was a change that was going on that I wasn't that comfortable with. I started seeing all these coaches like shoot to the top, and I'm like here working my tail off going, what's wrong with me? I'm doing the same things over and over, and it just isn't working. And you know what, we all know the definition of insanity. So, I mean, I was driving myself insane. And literally for a couple of years, I didn't know what in the world I was going to do, because I see people rise to the top, achieving great things that I wanted to achieve, and I wasn't achieving those things, even though I was doing what I was doing consistently over a period of time. So one of the things that Tracy Morrow, who's a dear friend of mine, she's a founding coach as well, Pete Pena, he's a coach with the company, he's been a top coach, elite coach as well. We went and had a meeting with Carl Deichler, our CEO. And we just sat across the table from Carl and just said, hey, we're struggling here. Not only are we struggling with where we are in this business and how we're going to grow it, we're also struggling as how are we going to lead other coaches who are going to be going through the same scenarios that we're going through in the future. What are we going to do? And Carl looked across from us and, he said a couple of things. He said, first of all, I'm a CEO of Beachbody, and I got to make sure the company works. You guys got to get out there and make sure the network works. But then he looked across at me because I was telling him I was tired. I was tired of this. There were times when, this roller coaster ride of things would go really well and things would not go really well. And there were times when I even thought that, do I even want to keep doing this? I don't know if you've gotten there before. If you're a new coach, you're like going, oh my goodness, what am I in for? Listen, there's a point in your life, no matter what you do, if you're going to commit to it for a long period of time, you're going to question it. And that's absolutely okay. As a matter of fact, the times that you're questioning it, if you stick through, listen close, if you stick through it, you become refined. You become better as a person and towards that goal, towards other people. but you got to stick through it. And I was at a point where I was just frustrated. And I said, Carl, doggone it, I'm tired. Like he could do anything, right? Take a nap, Doug, would you? You know, that's probably what he wanted to say. But he looked across the table and said, are you tired or are you bored? And when he said that phrase to me as an A-type personality who's trying to build a business and an entrepreneur at heart, it hit me between the eyes because I realized something. I was managing and I wasn't out there doing what I initially started to do in this business, which was to help people, love people, care for people, serve people, create things, develop things, and continue to be on the edge. I found myself in a managing role. Now, here's the interesting thing about that. In this business, you're going to grow it. Okay, you may already be at a star diamond level, elite coach status level, or you may be brand new to this business. As you keep growing this, you're going to find that you're going to have to find a way to not only grow the business continually, but also manage the business as well. And that can be a difficult thing if you're not used to it. I'm not a professional networker, people. Well, I used to say that, and Pete Pena would slap me across the face. Sometimes kind of literally just pat me across the face, say, Doug, you are a professional at this now. I'm like, oh, but that's not what I intended, you know? And because I'm not trained in this. I don't have schooling in this. But that was where I was. And it was frustrating me because I knew that if I stayed on the path that I was on, I was going to destroy some things along the way. I had done research on highly successful network marketers in other companies for decades. And I never found one person that stayed in the same business for a long period of time and kept their marriages intact, their finances intact, their relationships intact, and their business intact. So I went out with Tracy to visit with Jeff Hill, who oversees the entire network. Jeff's an incredible man. And I just presented that question to him. Who do you know that I can get in contact with? Because I got to do something. I'm not going to stay where I'm at. Things have to change, but I don't know what to do. And I hope it's with Beachbody, but if it's not, I'm not going to destroy my family in the process. Jeff goes, you know what? I've asked that question of a dear friend of mine who's been in network marketing for 20 plus years, who's been very successful. Because he said, I don't know hardly anybody, but he says, I know one guy that's a friend of mine. And he said, I asked him the very same question. How do you do this? And he said, every year I reinvent myself. And so it was at that point that I realized that I need to change some things about my perspective in this business. You see, I was always a goal setter, always reinventing myself, always reevaluating everything in my life. But once you get in this business and you start seeing success over a period of time, you can fall into this maintenance mode. You can't fall into the maintenance mode if you want to be impactful and if you want to live out the priorities in your life and you want to make a difference and you want to grow a thriving business. So you've got to constantly be growing and developing the business while you're constantly growing and developing yourself and reinventing yourself. So what I want to talk about here is I kind of set the ground now of kind of where I've been. And here's what happened a couple of years, 2 years ago, after meeting with Carl and Jeff. I sat down with my business manager, Missy, and I said, listen, we're scrapping everything. We're clearing the table and we're starting over. And she's like, what? Are you nuts? And I said, yeah, I am nuts, because literally I'm driving myself nuts if I don't do this. So we started over, and there were a lot of things that I was good at. One of the things I realized is I didn't have any I had systems in place, but they were really poor. So I didn't know how to manage what I had. You know, it was me answering all the calls and the emails and the texts and trying to stay up with everything, and it was wearing me out. And I needed to develop systems that would allow that to happen. So over that period of time, we were able to develop systems that really allowed me to, you know, train my coaches, which I was really good at, but to be more effective at that, reach out to new people, gain new leads, be better at recognition, which I stunk at. I'm not good at recognizing. I mean, these are things that I had to really confront myself on. How am I doing with my contact management and communicating with my customers? I was terrible at it. I only communicated with them if they reached out to me. How terrible is that? As a matter of fact, in P&P, did you know in P&P that you are required to take care of your customers and coaches, period? or you could be reprimanded in some way. I'm just telling you what the PMP says. Anyway, that is really in there. And we're required to do that. The reason why is because the company has spent a lot of money and time acquiring those people. And we're the ones given the honor to be able to serve them. And so as we were developing the systems, things started working. I was reinventing. What we did was very simple. I'm not going to get into the specifics of that, but what we did was we kept what was working. We threw out what was not working, and then we looked for new ways to develop and grow our business. And for the last few years, that's what we have been doing. This year, as a matter of fact, Tracy Morrow and I are smack dab in the middle of, again, completely reinventing the way that we reach out to people and utilizing social media, which I am an old fuddy-duddy dog. You know, they call me legend now. We had an event with Sean T where we had a Diamond and Star Diamond meeting on Friday night, and they referred to me as the grandpa of the network. Now, how sad is that? Or I guess it's a good thing. I don't know. I grew the beard just for that tonight, so I could, you know, look like the grandpa type. But, you know, and as I look back at that, I'm proud of that. I'm not that actually, because that's part of my goal in reinventing myself. I realized that one of the things that I realized this year is that my goal within the network is I want to be that voice, that foundation of wisdom. I want to hand the baton off to up-and-coming leaders and hand it off so that they can take the recognition, which they deserve, and I can be comfortable with that. But more importantly, I can walk alongside them to help them as they start to experience success, and they need to know, what do I do and how do I lead? How do I manage? How do I hold my life together and my priorities together in the process? And so, you know, yeah, I'm the grandpa, I guess, and I'll wear that badge, you know, with honor. But that's, you know, a realization of part of this process of reinventing. And so Tracy and I are in the middle of reinventing a lot of things even for this year. But the truth is, a lot of that did not come into full focus until well, it's been happening over the last few months. But last week, there was something that happened that truly, really sparked this whole, I mean, it made a lot of things more clear for me. And I'll get to that here in just a second. So bottom line is this. Now that you've kind of heard my story, kind of heard about where I'm at to this point, kind of very generally, I just want to pose this to you. I don't care where you're at in your life and what you're trying to work on. Anything that you want to be successful at, you've got to be disciplined at it, at working at it. You got to be consistent. You have to have a plan, or you got to follow people that have had success with it. And you have to do it over a long period of time. You want to have a great relationship with your spouse? Work on it. Put a plan together. Make sure you're being effective at it and do it over a long period of time, through the ups and downs, through the highs and lows, and you'll see success with it. Same thing with your business. A lot of people just aren't willing to do that. Once things get a little bit tough, they cut and run. You know, isn't that stink? I mean, you have all these coaches and they get started and you're excited for them and you want to help them out and they got these hopes and these dreams. And then the next thing you know, things get a little tough, a little difficult. Like, oh, I have to talk to somebody about this. Oh, I got to train somebody. How do I lead? And then next thing you know, you don't hear from them. I mean, we all experience that. I experienced that. I mean, again, we're just people at this, right? Nobody's better than anybody else. And if anybody who's gained success in this business tells you that they're better than somebody else, then I got choice words for them, because it's not true. We are all humans trying to achieve the goals and dreams that we have for our lives and help other people along the way. But the truth is, as you do things over a period of time, you're going to find yourself, whether you're brand new in this business, I'm giving you a little prophecy here, in the future, if you keep doing this, or if you've been in it a long time, you're going to get a little stale. You're going to get a little stinky. You're going to sit back and, you're not going to be as sharp as you once were, or as excited as you once were, maybe as passionate as you felt it would be. Or maybe you think, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. What changed? We're going to look at that. What changed? Maybe you're a little out of balance. Tracy and I always challenge each other. I've been meeting with her as a success partner for years. We have always challenged ourselves to recalibrate our lives to make sure that our priorities are consistent. We have to do it about every 3 months. How sad is that? You think you can set out on a trip and you can figure this thing out and you can stick to your priorities, but we're human and we get off whack, right? Life throws us a curveball. We get sick. Something happens to our family. Focus on our kids because they're struggling with something. Have to deal with, financial issues or relational issues, whatever it is. Life throws you a curveball in the process. Maybe you're a strong diamond and a few of your key coaches dropped out and quit. Life throws you a curveball. What do? You got to make sure that you're recalibrating and that your priorities are in balance. There's times you may feel disorganized. I'm at a point right now where I get a little anxiety when we're creating things and I feel a little bit anxious about it because they're just a little bit disorganized. Once they start coming together, I start feeling a little bit better, but you got to work through that process again of recalibrating, reinventing, redeveloping. And more importantly, make sure that your priorities are set. You should have on your goal list before anything else, what are your priorities? Write this down. And hopefully you got notes and stuff, but what are your priorities? What are your life priorities? Let me ask it a different way. If your last breath was to happen tonight, what do you wish your life would say? That will tell you what your priorities are. Very quick. If you were to die in your bed tonight, what do you want to be remembered for? And to who? Becomes really clear. You need to set those priorities first and foremost before you do anything else. If you don't have those priorities set, I'm telling you right now, you're going to get down the road and you're going to look back and you're going to go, crap, I went down the wrong road. I followed the wrong thing. I wanted to get some recognition. I wanted to get some money. I wanted to build and have what this person had or that person had. And you realize along the way, you got a trail, right? You got some dead animals along the way, bad relationships that went sour, and find yourself in debt, or, you start becoming a more negative person, whatever that might be. So make sure that you set those priorities first and foremost. Now, I'm a big believer in goals. Always have been. As a matter of fact, every year I redo all my goals. This is my goal. This is my goal notebook. It goes back to 1994. And I was fortunate to have a pastor that I worked with that really challenged me on goals. And he said, listen, Doug, I want to show you my goal setting process. And we went through that. And it changed my life. And there are all kinds of systems out there. I'm not here to promote a system. But I really think it's important that if you don't set goals for yourself in every aspect of your life according to your priorities, you're going to miss out a lot on life. And you're going to get to that last breath and you're going to have a lot of shouldas, And I always say don't shit on yourself, because you get to your life and you'll be like, I should have done this and I should have done that. And I should have taken care of my kids and I should have loved my wife more. And I really should have taken care of my finances like I should have. I had great opportunities to really help people with their health and fitness, but I was a little intimidated about talking to them. I was a little afraid. I could have made a difference in their life. All these things that you regret. We don't want regrets. So the way to do that is establish our priorities and make sure that you're setting goals that will get you to those. Big goals, little goals, huge goals, small goals, whatever they are. I got them all written down. The funny thing is I'll write goals down and it's called the reticular activating system. Believe it or not, it's called RAS. Don't forget your RAS. It's a reticular activating system. Or don't sit on your RAS, right? Let it go. Anna's like, Doug, this is supposed to be G-rated. What your reticular activating system does is when you do something, when you write something down, you speak it out loud, you envision it. If you put it down once, in your subconscious, you'll actually remember it. It'll actually be back there. It's kind of like how many songs you actually know, like the tunes to and the words to? I mean, thousands. Isn't that the freakiest thing? You may have never even thought of or heard of a song for like 10 years, and it comes on the radio like you're singing every word. How does that happen? Ras, it's back there, right? It's back there. And what happens when you set goals and dreams that you're really passionate about, that you want to achieve, you will subconsciously start doing things you don't even necessarily know about, and you'll start achieving those things. I've got goals that I've written down years ago that I've never even focused on, and I realize as I go back and review every year, which is important, that you've achieved some of those things and you weren't even really focusing on it. That's cool. But all it took was writing those things down. This year for me, at the end of every year and the beginning of every year, I always try to establish a goal list. I've been working with a couple of groups, mastermind groups, who've been using Darren Hardy's Living Your Best Year Ever. It's great. I think it's really good. I just like the daily. It's probably one of the best I've found as far as being able to keep track of it. And he just has you set your 3 banner goals from the year, and you look at different areas of your life, and you write out all your goals, and you narrow them down to top 10 and then the top 3, and stay focused on that type of stuff. It's all, everybody's system is very similar. But I always do that every single year. But this year for some reason was so uncomfortable for me. I could not figure out what in the world. I couldn't nail down my goals. And that drove me crazy, because for years I've been able to do this. Like, I know what I wanted to achieve, and I'd set out to do it. But this year I was just really uneasy, and nothing was coming the way I wanted it to. And I was really frustrated. And I was I talked to Tracy about it. I talked to my wife, Tammy, about it. And I just couldn't figure it out. So I said, you know what? I'm going to pray about this, because my faith's important to me. I'm not pushing my faith on you tonight, but my faith's important to me. That's my top priority. And so I was just praying about it. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to be slave to the goal. And in the process, something hit me. I read a book by John Gordon. You want to write this down. I love it. John, Jon, and Gordon, I think it's Gordon. And the book's name is called The Carpenter. The Carpenter. And it's a neat story that really encapsulates a lot of personal development things that you've heard from all kinds of different gurus. But what it boils down to is, and give away the goods here, is bottom line, if your life doesn't revolve around loving, serving, and caring for people, you get out of whack. It's just the truth. The moment you stop loving, serving, and caring about people, you get out of whack. And so I read that, and then I listened to it on the way to our, we're traveling back and forth for Christmas to Tammy's folks. And I made a decision at that point. I was going to, and again, this is for me, but I was going to seek first the kingdom of God, because he says if I do that, he'll take care of everything else. So for me, that's what I chose to do. Not writing down my goals. I'm going to pray and read and allow God to do whatever. And if he doesn't do anything, he doesn't do anything. Doesn't impress upon me anything, I'll just stick with that, because I felt like I was in the wilderness. That's how I felt. It's like, what, focus me here. And so that's where I was. And Tracy has always encouraged me. She started doing this years ago, and several years ago, she said, Doug, why don't you pick a word for the year that you'll focus on, that'll really kind of just pray about it, think about it, and see if a word comes to you that you can really focus on for the year. And so this year, the word that kept coming to me was love. And I'm like going, that is not a manly word. That is not a manly word. I'm not going to tell anybody about it, just because, because last year my word was favor, right? And the word before that was courage. And then it was love. And so Tracy goes, hey, what's your word for the year? And I go, oh, I don't know if I want to share it. She goes, what? And I just was telling her. She laughed. It wasn't that I wasn't going to share it, but that's kind of how I felt. And the bottom line is that's the foundation of everything to me. And what I have learned over the last several weeks was I got my priorities out of whack. I was a pastor for 13 years, doggone it. I've been a Beachbody coach for 8. I've been doing this for decades. You'd think we'd be able to get it figured out. But I'm here to tell you that nobody has it figured out. Nobody does. But as long as you stay the course, as long as you don't drift totally out of bounds, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. But you got to be there to be okay. And so in the process of doing all that, we were putting on our Sean T event. The last 4 years we brought Sean in. And he's a dear friend of mine. And by the way, Sean is just the real deal. I mean, I seriously have not met as caring of a man for as many people as he knows than Sean. So what we've done the last 4 years is, he comes, he does the event, and then Saturday night's like our night. It's really cool. And so we always go out to dinner and we just hang out at our house and we talk and we encourage each other and stuff. And I don't know if you know Sean. He's got a podcast now. It's done through CBS, and it's really the first one's really good because he kind of walks through this, and it really is who he is. But we're at dinner and we're laughing and talking, and we're talking about this and that, and he kind of every once in a while he just kind of will say things totally out of the blue or do things totally out of the blue, and we're talking and laughing, and he looks up at me and we're eating. He goes, "Doug, what are your 5-year goals?" I go, "I don't have any. I don't have any goals. I don't know. What are yours?" And he tells me a few things. But here's the funny thing. On Tuesday in the shower, this is going to stay G-rated. In the shower, for some reason, water helps me think. You got to find that place. You got to find that area that helps you think. And where everything kind of just gets cleared out. And all of a sudden, when you get to that moment, you can start to think clearly about stuff. For me, it's the shower. All right. I'm sorry, but it is. Good. Anna says that is too good. I'm not totally weird. It is for Tracy too. So on Tuesday morning, I'm in the shower, and I'm not kidding you. Everything becomes very clear. And here's why. Because I started thinking about the 5-year goal thing. Because in 5 years, I will be 50 years old. Yes. And in 5 years, it'll be the year 2020. So I thought, well, okay. So I'm like going, "Oh, what's your 2020 vision, Doug?" I thought I was pretty creative in the shower anyway. But it really got me to start thinking, because then I'll be married 28 going on 29 years to Tammy. My son Dylan will be either in his 5th year of college or starting a new career or playing baseball, pros. My daughter will be starting her 1st year of college. And Tammy and I will be beginning a new chapter in our lives with no kids at home. And it really hit me. And all of a sudden, things became very clear. And I realized in less than 5 years, my life is going to be drastically different. And I didn't intend for it to go that fast, but it did. So and for some reason, I think being 50 years old, now some of you may be there. And if you are, trust me, I'm trying to walk around this with grace. But 50 years old is old to me. And 50 years old means that mortality becomes more real. You don't live forever, right? Although I have I'm going to die when I'm 102. So I've got 57 years left. I planned that out with a buddy of mine. So we know how many years we have left, right? We plan for that. But getting back to this whole thing, 5 years from now, my life is going to be drastically different. And here's what I started doing. I started working backwards with my goals. I said, where do I want to be in 5 years? And when I started looking at that picture of what I really wanted in 5 years, there were some things that became very crystal clear to me that were totally not what I was expecting. And what that meant for me this year was that this is the year I really have to ramp up my Team Beachbody business to be able to do the things I want to do in 5 years, even more so than I have before, and at a greater pace. It's not easy. You know, going through life is not easy. But if you stick to your priorities, it's worth it. I heard somebody say a few weeks ago, it's really stuck to me, because we can think ourselves out of so much. If you're a brand new coach, you can think yourself out of why you really want to share this with people, but you can think of a million reasons why you don't want to, or why you couldn't, or why you shouldn't. You think of, oh, I should go for, I'm building the business and I really want to get to 5-star, but I don't know. I don't know if I can reach that level. I don't know if I can do the things that need to get. I don't know if I want to put in the work. And here's what happens. You start thinking all these things in your head. And the reality is, when those things in your head are usually negative, most of the time, if not all the time, they're negative. And I heard this guy talking about that, and I thought, that's me. Everything I think about in my head usually is negative. So what this person said was, you got to speak to yourself and stop listening to yourself. Speak to yourself the positive things that you want to achieve and you want to do and who you are, and stop listening to yourself think inside of all the negative things of why you can and why you shouldn't and why you couldn't and why you're not good enough. And start thinking, telling yourself, I am a 5-star diamond coach. I am a 10-star diamond coach. I am an elite coach. I am a coach who's going to help somebody with their health and fitness. I am a good dad. I am a good husband. Whatever that is. Find out your priorities and what you want to be like in 5 years, and then work backwards with your goals to get there. And then start telling yourself who you are and what you want to achieve. And stop listening to yourself tell you what you can and can't do. One of the absolute best things I love about Sean is he has a true heart to help and serve people, period. And if you've ever been to one of his events where he spends time with people, or he does a Q&A, he speaks into the lives of people and makes every person there feel valued and important. And one of our coaches here from Nebraska raised her hand during Q&A session, and she said, I just want you to know something. I reached out to you on Facebook, and I told you my story of her story of alcoholism and addiction. And she said, you just wrote back one quick post that encouraged me, that said I could do it, I could overcome it, and I could be that person I wanted to be. And she says, I'm here to tell you that I am 28 months sober. One Facebook post changed a life. But here's the cool thing. That's just not Shanti. I know each and every one of you, if you think about your life, you've done something. You've said something. You've written something that has impacted somebody's life. And you may or may never ever know about it. So, what do we do with all this? I know it's pretty general, but I want to wrap it up. And I wrap it up by saying this. If we keep our priorities intact, and we realize that life is about, in my opinion, loving, serving, and caring for people, and we keep that as priority, and we do the things that we need to do to help and serve people and care for those people, then we're going to make a difference in their lives. And through that, we're going to be able to have the true impact of what the Beachbody business is about. Now, that may or may not excite you right now if you're trying to get excited. Maybe you are excited and you're like, yes, I'm going to keep doing this. Keep doing it. But if you're not excited about it, I want to encourage you to think about it more. I want you to think, where do you want to be in 5 years? And how can Beachbody do that? Beachbody, listen close. Beachbody is simply a platform, my friends. Now, for a very few of you, this may be your entire life. Beachbody may be that passion that totally defines you. But I know that I got caught allowing Beachbody to define who I was. And it took me a while to get out of that, to realize I define who I am. Beachbody is the platform to help me get there. Beachbody is a platform to help me love, serve, and care. It doesn't define me. I define me. The moment I allow it to define me, I'm caught in a pin. Caught in a pin. I was, what do we got here time-wise? All right, I'm going to wrap it up, Anna, here in just a second. All right. I want to share this with you because if you know me, I'm transparent. I'm going to tell you, you know, what's on my heart, and I want to get a little bit deeper, but this is one of those stories that I'm not going to go into full detail, but the point is very valid. I was working with my business attorney about some things, and we were talking about Beachbody, and she knows my whole story with the company and where we are with everything. And she knows that I'm an entrepreneur at heart when we first started out. And I was kind of telling her how I was feeling the last couple of years, just feeling just this frustration and kind of feeling out of whack and all that stuff. And she, and by the way, I knew the phone call was going to cost me like $800. I'm like, crap, you know, but I had to we had to get some business stuff done. And so we're on the call, and she said, Doug, how old are you? And I said, I'm 45, going to be 50 in 5 years. And she said, you know, you're at a point where most men and women who contact me about their business, either their personal business that they own or business that they work for, they're at a decision point in their lives. And the decision point is this: if they're frustrated or they don't know what to do with how they're feeling with their feelings, and then they've got a decision to make. They can either keep working for the man and not deal with it and be a grumpy, she goes, you can be a grumpy old man at 65, or you can continue to find that outlet of passion that allows you to be that A-type personality, to continue to grow and to develop. See, I was feeling over time was kind of this noose of freedom with my business, right? Because I was confining myself. I told Tracy like this, because she likes word pictures. I said, I felt like a wild horse that had been caught. Because at first when we were building the business, we were able to do anything we wanted and growing the business and developing things, right? That was my personality. And got caught and broke, put in a pin, and stuck there. But yet my heart was out there in the pasture, wild, right? Here's what happened. I put myself in the pen. I mean, there are things along the way. I'm not going to get into details, but I put myself in that pen of allowing somebody else to define me rather than me defining myself. It was well worth the $800. That alone, you know, that was better than a counselor. So, so it was worth it. But it totally changed. It detached emotion from what I was feeling with frustration in myself and the business, and allowed me to freely start thinking and dreaming again. And I hope that's helpful to some, and that can transfer to every area of life. So, okay, so here are the action steps. Action steps are this: 3 things. Number 1, evaluate your priorities and goals. And I want you to, and you may have already done this year, but even if you've done this, I want you to think and start 5 years out. Maybe even 10 years out. You're like, Doug, we just had kids. All right, do 10 years out. Trust me, 10 years goes by like that. But start evaluating 5 years out and then work back in. And make sure that your goals and priorities are really going to allow you to do what you want to achieve in 5 years or where you want to be in 5 or 10 years. Okay? So evaluate your priorities and goals starting 5 years in the future and working back. Number 2, get a success partner for the business if you don't have one. You need somebody that's going to push you, that's going to prod you, that's going to poke you. You can speak freely to each other. Tracy is that to me. We have heated conversations and we have encouraging conversations. We still love each other because we're in the same boat. But if you don't have that, I would be so lost. And if I wouldn't have had Tracy working through this process with me over the last several years, I don't know where I'd be as a coach, to be honest with you. But you need that in life too. So not only get a success partner for the business, but make sure that you have somebody, this is the 3rd point, make sure you have somebody or some buddies that you're working on life with. For sure with your spouse if you're married. We started a mastermind group last year that was highly successful, and we looked at all different areas of your life, and it revolved around this, the Darren Hardy stuff. And this year I started a men's mastermind group, and it has been the biggest blessing in our lives because we're able to talk about guy stuff because we're kind of all at the same age, all the different areas of our lives. So make sure that you evaluate your priorities and goals starting 5 years in the future and working back. Number 2, get a success partner for the business if you haven't done that already. And number 3, create or join a mastermind group so that you're not just focusing on business all the time. That's the whole point, that you're focusing on life. Somebody that's even outside of the business, which is really good, and that can be really healthy. And I want to leave you with this one caveat, something that I've been studying over the last 6 to 8 months. All right? Listen close. Woo! I love challenge groups to death. I love them. I think they're excellent for a brand new coach to get started, understand the business, start reaching out to people, okay? They're great. But I'm telling you right now, if you're thinking on doing a challenge group every 3 or 4 months, or starting one, maybe you're going to do 21-day fix. Maybe do one a month even. One every 2 months with Insanity or Max 30 or something. One every 3 months with P90 or P90X. If you solely think that you're going to do a challenge group over, periodically, and you're going to build a huge thriving business, it's not the truth. It is a spoke to the wheel. It is not the wheel. Okay? Now, I love challenge groups. Please don't get me wrong. But understand, what I have learned from a lot of coaches, because I've been talking to a lot of coaches, and why are you frustrated with the business? Why are you growing? I'm like, aren't you reaching out to people outside of your challenge group? Well, no, I thought the challenge group would grow it for me. And I'm like, what training are we doing to people if we're only focusing on challenge groups and not teaching them to invite outside of that? So I want to encourage you. Keep doing your challenge groups. I'm doing them. Tammy and I are starting a new one. She's doing T25 in February. I'm still debating if I'm going to do Max 30. I think I'm going to do 21-Day Fix Extreme because that's coming out. And I've already done that with the test group. It's really awesome. We keep doing challenge groups. I just wrapped up a Body Beast one. So we do challenge groups, but challenge group is a way to get some new customers and is a way to get some new coaches. But the reality is if you do a challenge group, you get 10 people in it. The reality, by the end of it, you're going to have 3 or 4 or 5 that are really committed. And if you're lucky, maybe you'll get one of those as a coach. You do that 3 times a year, guess what? You get 3 coaches. That is not building a thriving business. It's part of it, but it's not all of it, okay? So please keep that in perspective as you're building and growing your business. Okay, that's what I've got, Anna. I hope that was okay.
Yeah, okay, there. I'm unmuted now. Yes, it was amazing. I have 5 pages of notes because I knew I would have 5 pages of notes. But I wanted to first thank you for spending your Sunday night with us. I really, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for that. And you know what? I had reached out to you asking you about a video because I had seen you speak about reinventing yourself at leadership. And you quickly sent me that video, and then you asked, so this goes along with Shanti, you asked, is there anything I can do for you and your team? And the old me would have been like, I don't want to bother you, but I said, you know what? I'm going to take you up on that. And here I am. And I seriously pinched me, but it was because you said that one thing. Is there anything else that you need? Which always reminds me that I need to take that step back and make people feel, sometimes you get in a hurry and you just, here you go, and you forget that moment. But that one sentence changed my life because I'm selfish. This call was for me, just so you know. Forget the 60 other of you that are on here. But also the 60 other people that were on this call, it's just because you had just said that one little thing that you've now blessed, the rest of us. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart just for saying that. I also wanted to, and I think there are 3 questions on here, but I wanted to point out a few things that you had said that I know that for me, I stopped doing. I have had, you're talking about setting goals for the year, and I've always had, and it's just an easy time. And I've gone through the Darren Hardy. We all kind of went through that as well on the team. But this year has been the hardest for me as well. I've hit my goals. I'm home full time. I had the end of the year, I didn't hit elite this year, and going from hitting it last year, and it was like photo finish and coming out of that and trying to set goals. You're like, I'm having a hard time doing it. So everything you said just was hit so close to home. And then I realized that I stopped doing that. I am an elite coach. And I've even had team calls and videos on this. I have a stack of old big Post-it notes back here that I had written in my gym. I am this and I am that, and just over the years, and I stopped doing that. So I have this like starred and all over my page because I really did stop doing that. It was so important for myself to hit those goals because I used to do that. So I appreciate you sharing that, because I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that. So I think that was one of the highlights for me. It was like, hello, you teach this, you preach this, and you're not doing it. And you wonder why you're in a rut. Go figure. So I wanted, because I want to respect your time, I'm going to ask the 3 questions, and I'm going to scan through and see if there are any more in there. But the first question came up a while ago, was from Justin Stanley. He said, I feel I started to loathe social media after a while because this business is so crazy on social media. Have you felt that way? And if so, how do you get over that?
Oh, Justin, it makes me sick to get on social media.
You're not alone.
I'm an old dog. That was that Friday night meeting we talked about. So, because Raina Odell, I don't know if you guys know Raina at all. She's an elite coach. She is incredible. I love that girl to death. And, we picked her brain. It was so fun because, that's when the whole grandpa term and all that came up, because the social media stuff, here's what I'm real. One of the things that there were a few of us guys that really started talking about why are guys not succeeding in this business. And so I'm going to talk since Justin's I'm assuming a guy, I'm going to talk from a guy perspective. The truth is this: most guys, social media, we take it or leave it. I mean, most guys are out there with a heart's desire. I mean, it's the way we're designed to go out there and provide for our family. So we've got a 40-hour work week plus. We're out there trying to take care of our kids or our family or responsibilities or whatever. And then by the time we get done with that, the last thing I want to do is jump on Facebook or jump on Twitter or try to figure out how do I do a stinking photo with words on it so I can put it on Instagram. It takes me 5 hours to do it. And I finally get it up and I say, well, what good did that do? And I got to do this every day, or I got to do this every other. So for me, social media, but here's part of reinventing myself. You've got to find a way to make sure that you are utilizing technology to stay in the game. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't like it necessarily, but I'm learning to, endure it well. One of the systems that I created, part of it was a complete technology system. And because it was the way for me to be able to automate some of the social media stuff that I had been loathing before. Okay. And automatic communication. So you've got to find ways to stay automated in the system. Now, I know Anna can probably teach you on this stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there. Hootsuite can do automated posts for you. You need an automated contact management system. I don't want to promote my own, but
okay.
it's
I use it.
Automatic CEO is there because that's a struggle I had, Justin, was that. Now, as far as social media goes, Tracy and I are in the process right now of trying to stay up front and creating, different types of sneak peeks. We got a whole bunch of different types of sneak peeks now, but they're going to be automated too. They're going to bring people in. We can invite them to them. People can learn about them. See, social media is this. Here's what I learned from Raina. This was so funny. This just blew my mind. She's telling me how, all she's doing is she's starting to create all these little relationships, and then she invites them to these sneak peeks or invites them to these clean eating groups. And she says, I don't talk to them. I get to hide behind my computer because I don't like to talk to people on the phone or face-to-face about it. I get to hide behind my computer, invite people to this, and let the system do the work for me. And then if they sign up to become a coach and start doing something, then I start working with them and training them. I'm like, holy cow. Then she asked me this. How in the world do you talk to people face-to-face about this? I thought that was so funny because I'd rather do that.
Right.
And I said, it's no different. I say the same things that you do, except you hide behind the wall of a computer or a phone, and I'm just in front of the person. That's it. So what I'm learning to do, back to Justin's question, is I struggle with it, but I'm learning to put systems in place that'll work. Right. Here's the key. I'm willing to learn something new to reinvent what I'm doing.
Right.
That's part of the reinvention process. And I'm not going to get into specifics. That's where, work with, talk to Anna, talk to people on your team, learn from other coaches. There are a lot of other coaches. All you got to do is get on Facebook and ask, what are you doing to build your business? How are you doing this through social media? What are some of the posts that you do? Go to YouTube and start looking up some of these top coaches, and all their videos are right there. Tracy and I were actually looking at video to do more social media training today. We were throwing around all these different websites and stuff. So we're trying to learn this as we go. So, it's part of the culture now. And you can find ways to do it that aren't going to kill you. Now, let me also say this, if I can, Anna. Here's the difference. Here's what this was kind of one of those aha moments that we had at that diamond meeting, that Star Diamond meeting, was that the truth is the way the systems right now for a lot of these teams are being developed, it's catered towards women, fellas. Because here's the truth. You can't go in and private message a woman without being seen as a freak or trying to hit on them. You can't do it. Okay. So there's strike number one. Okay. So then what if you do that with a guy? Same thing. Some guy that you don't know all of a sudden starts to chime up a conversation. We as guys get a little paranoid. Unless you know him, right? Strike number two. So the systems that are in place to do this are not favorable for guys in the realm that we're in. So that's what we're looking at, trying to figure. One of the sneak peeks that we're developing is a guys or a men's sneak peek to the business that doesn't talk so much about challenge groups and chatting with each other and doing all the girl things. Although if you like that, that's great. But that talks about, listen, this is a business, and we want it to help you build and achieve your family's goals and dreams. And so we're going to treat it like a business. So we know you're busy, okay? But there's a way to incorporate this and build this so that you don't have to spend a lot of time on social media, or you don't have to spend a lot of time chatting back and forth and doing all your text stuff and all this stuff, to which most guys, we're done with our words by about 10 a.m. All right, we're done. That's the truth. I mean, it's just the truth. It's the way we're made. Yeah. So it's fine, and we don't know if it's going to work, but we're trying to find a new way of doing that. There's, Jimmy Hayes Nelson. I talked to him this weekend with Dave Ward, yeah. And they're doing an event in Dallas, and I don't know how I'm going to incorporate with helping them with that. But that's the whole focus of that, is how do guys find a way to build in this type of culture now? Because it really is tailored towards women. Now, here's the cool thing. If you're a woman on this call tonight, you better be getting after it, because this is all teed up for you. Yeah. It really is. Challenge groups are teed up for you. I am not kidding you. Clean eating groups are teed up for you. These are not typical guy things. Now, do guys have some success with them? Yeah. But majority, no, it's slanted towards women. So, man, run with those things. Yeah. Now, one of the other things, go ahead.
Just chimed in. He said, the key is to recruit women and build them up on your team.
Well, yes.
I know that this subject has come up. I've talked to Mike Ryan about it quite a bit, because I know that he's part of that conversation with Jimmy Hayes Nelson and Dave Ward. And I know that that's been a big topic of discussion for quite a while now. Because
here's where the grandpa in me comes in. Completely, I agree. I say this. if you're going to build it with women, number one, if you're married, you got to be really careful. And you got to set boundaries, and your wife has to be on board, because you're going to destroy your priority in the process. And that's where I see most network marketers, guys, fail. Okay. So that's where the grandpa comes in and says, be careful.
Yeah.
Because you start going down a path you don't intend to be. So just set up your parameters and boundaries appropriately. I would also say this, make sure that if you're starting working with women, it's people that either you know or people that you know that you know. In other words, they're friends of friends. So that there is some kind of trust that can be related with you to them. So there's some kind of thread. Because I'm telling you, if you try to do it through social media, you're going to have a tough time. Because that's what we were talking about. All this women were like, hey, all right. So what happens when guys start reaching out to you and they're like, I delete them, ban them from my page. My wife never accepts guys' friendships unless she knows that I know them.
Right.
Because she freaks her out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, it makes sense.
It is a hard one. It's interesting.
Yeah. I have two more quick questions. These should be quick. One is from Ellie Perico. She's a new coach. She's been a coach for about 4 months, and she hit diamond right at the end of the year.
Nice.
So she's been going strong. But I know for me, balance is a tough one. You've got a family, and you really want to do this. So her question was, what is the one behavior that he feels is non-negotiable to do every day, or the top 3?
In the business?
Yes, in the business.
What's her name?
Ellie.
Ellie. Okay.
So she is probably the busiest woman I've ever met. And I thought I was busy. She's juggling a family, a new business that she's, come out of the gates, hitting crazy points, and she's got little ones at home and a husband who's like, this is a new business. Okay, what did you get yourself into? So that balance, so that, setting priorities, what are the 1 to 3 things that just are non-negotiable for the day, and then can walk away?
You've got to continue to invite. I don't care how successful you are in this business. I don't care if you're a superstar diamond or an emerald. You have to keep growing your business. Okay. So you've got to keep inviting, and you've got to have a system in place that allows that to happen and allows people to hear about the opportunity of the products. Number 2, you've got to work with those coaches. The last thing you want to do, you're going to regret. Ellie, if you don't start working with these coaches to start helping them see success right away and building their business and put them on the right path over a period of time, then you're going to look back and those coaches aren't going to be coaches anymore. They're going to drop off. Or they may start to see a little bit of growth and then they drop off because they have no guidance from anybody. A lot of times when we see coaches that add a lot of people up over a short period of time, most of the time they end up falling away real quick. The coaches do. Okay. It's not any different because they just feel, it's like, how do you manage, 100 people that come in? Or I always tell people 3, 4, 5 coaches a month, especially if a few of them are working it, is all I can handle, and I put a cap at it because that's what keeps my sanity. Right. But I also know when you're building this business and you want to be successful, when I started out, it took 7 months to go full time. I worked my butt off.
Right.
Okay. So keep inviting and have a system that starts building. If you don't have one, start building a system that keeps that invitation process going so that you can plug them into, purchasing challenge packs or signing up coaches. Yeah. And then number 2, make sure that you're working with your coaches. You have a system in place to train them. And I always say, the one thing I regret is this. When we get coaches to diamond, I would step away and keep build and then help another coach get to diamond. The thing I regret is this. I should have helped them get to star diamond because a lot of those coaches did not move past that level because they didn't learn how to create diamonds of their own. So don't walk away from a coach. And what I mean by walk away is just, totally allow them to keep moving forward without you being there to help them. Unless they want to do it on their own, then they do it on their own. But make sure that you get them to a star diamond status. In other words, you've helped them create a diamond so they know what to do. Then push them out. Right? And then watch them and help them to make sure they're doing that with their coaches. Right. And then the third thing would be this. This is the grandfather thing. Make sure that you set your boundaries. with your family. Very simple. And I get this more from women, this question more often is, well, I've got kids, I've got a family, I'm trying to build this business, I got my spouse, what do I do? Very, very simple. You need to, number one, let them know what you're doing with Beachbody and what those goals are. What are you trying to achieve? Because those goals usually relate to your family, right? Get them on your side. Kids, I'm doing this so we can go to Disneyland next year. Sweet, Mom, get out there and work the business. We want to go to Disneyland. Honey, I'm working this because we need to get out of debt. And I see a way for this to help achieve that. Man, that would take a load off my shoulders if you could do that. I'm on board with you. Let them know what your goals are in relation to the family. And then number two, set the boundaries. Say, family, I'm going to do the business Monday through Friday from 7 to 8 p.m. That's going to be my power hour, and that's when I'm going to do my business. You're going to have me all before that till 7 o'clock, and you're going to have me all after that till after 8 o'clock, so that they know exactly when you're going to be doing the business. That way, they're not threatened by it. And you get some free time where you don't feel guilty. But here's the key. Make sure you start when you say you're going to start and end when you say you're going to end. Mm-hmm. And finally, if you're married, never meet alone with a guy. If you're a gal. If you're a guy, never meet alone with a woman. Because trust me, think what your spouse is thinking. Oh, I'm just going to go off and meet with a coach. Well, who is it? Oh, his name's Todd. Really? Trust me, in the back of your husband's mind, he's like, what? Crazy. I don't care how much debt you pay off. I'd rather not you meet with Todd. So set those boundaries and make them clear. That's
awesome advice. I know she's high-fiving herself because I know the first two that you discussed, she's on the right track. That would be our power of three. That's the system of inviting. Go in there every day, boom, 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 you're done with that. And then working with your coaches, she's doing a really good job at working with her new coaches, running them through our training, and she started doing calls with them. So she's on the right track. So I appreciate you sharing that. It's really helpful. And then one other quick question, but actually I think it's probably answered in itself. Patty had asked, what is the number one biggest tip on how to keep your contact list up to date, automatic CEO or otherwise?
Like as far as a system?
Probably, keep it. Yeah. How do you as a sole business owner keep your contact list? I think just putting it in a schedule, like Mondays I log in. I think because I know that's what I do now. Ellie was my assistant before, so she knows automatic CEO very well. She would go in on Mondays and would add all of my new customers. I have now released her so that she could build her business, and I kept that same system. So I think that this probably answers that question. I just set a day. I go in on Mondays, I add all my new customers, and then I don't have to worry about it the rest of the week.
Right. So yeah, definitely. And here's the thing: when you start out, this is how we started out. So if you're just starting out in this business, trust me, you're going to have thousands of customers one day. It's the truth. Just stick with it. Okay. So you say, well, I only have one. No, this doesn't apply to me. No, you're going to build the business, right? I am an elite coach. I am a Star Diamond coach. You're going to have, if coaches stick with it and they succeed with the process that's put before them, we see it happens over and over. Okay. So you're going to have a lot of customers and a lot of coaches. So initially when we started out, all we used was our contact database in our computer, right? So you can only do that for so long before you try to send out an email from my Mac and it says you have too many people to send out an email, right? And so you can't do it anymore and you can't create things you want to create. So have a contact management system started, right? I would say right now. One of the things I talked with Leanne Ruff at corporate about when she came in, because she came into our Shanti event, is she goes, I cannot believe we don't have a contact management system. Mm-hmm. Automatic CEO is a contact management system. There's a lot of them. I think does AWeber do contacts?
AWeber, you can't add them in yourself though.
Yeah, you can't add them in. They have to come in through an opt-in.
Yeah.
iContact's kind of the same way. But you need to have a way to manage your contacts. And like you said, Anna, once a week, just add in any of your new customers that you gain or coaches as they come in. Right. One of the cool things is with Automatic CEO, we're going to be adding a mobile app in February, which will allow you to be able to do that on the fly.
That would be for most of us.
Yeah, if you have a contact management system, make sure you if they've got a mobile app, make sure you utilize that, because then you can do it when you're out and about too. Yeah. Which will make it a lot easier as well.
Perfect.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we went over time, but everybody seems to be still on here because this is just such a great call. So again, I really do appreciate your time. And say hi to Tammy.
I will.
And let's take a screenshot, and then I'll let everybody go. Let's see if I can get everybody on here, or at least do my best here. I don't know if I can. Okay, we're going to do, there's 3 pages here. So I'm going to take 3 screenshots, and you guys all have to pose for all of them because I don't know where you are. You're just going to have to deal with it. All right, so you guys ready? Okay, this is the first one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm going to the next page. This is so awesome. Sunday night party with Doug. All right, now we've got names and faces. All right, number 2, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then one more. Yeah, one more. You guys are awesome. Okay, ready? Oh, I got lots of faces here too. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you, Doug.
You bet.
Again,
Thank you, guys.
have
Appreciate
a wonderful week, guys. Talk to you later.
Good night, everyone.